Hey, I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry for not really posting in such a long time. I've been pretty busy with college and still am in preparation for next semester, but regardless, I really wanted to get back into YouTube and TikTok, so I decided to use some of my leisure time before I head back to work. I also wanted to wish everyone a late Christmas if you celebrate it, and if not, happy holidays. Nevertheless, it has been over a year since Genshin Impact's release, and people are seeing the effects of burnout or boredom. People no longer feel the same excitement for events or characters, and expectations from mell-ø are extremely high. When thinking of causes, many things come up, from lackluster writing, poor character differentiation, especially with Arataki Ito, easily my favorite character though, time-gated content, and just so much more. A great example of lackluster writing, in my opinion, is the entirety of Inazuma. As the content tones down, the players no longer have any type of recency bias, and we can see how underwhelming Inazuma really was. It wasn't bad by any means, but it doesn't feel like a staple region like lmao did and still does. But it all comes down to Genshin Impact's lack of modern competition. The most comparable game to Genshin is obviously Breath of the Wild. When I played this game a couple of years ago, I had an absolute blast. All things from beginning story to replayability were amazing, and that's what drove me to want to play Genshin at launch. However, both games are targets for different audiences, and Breath of the Wild being a quote older title, it doesn't really provide much competition for Genshin. However, if we kind of tone it down, there is technically light at the end of the tunnel. There are future games such as Blue Protocol and other RPGs, some even being MMOs, that can hopefully bring mell-ø's head out of the rear end. The benefit of a good MMO competitor is that we may also see a resurrection of co-op and the potential creation of raid bosses much more interactive than the weekly bosses that can be killed in just a couple of minutes solo. If you're already an invested Genshin player, you will know that the devs feel very unattached to the game. They're making heaps of money through the gacha system and doing really nothing for the general enjoyment of the game. I will say that the animations and some of the events are outstanding and they make you feel like a real player, but other than that, there's not much. With that money, they just create new games and never really feel the need to make big revamps to their existing ones. Thankfully, the 2.4 preview looked very good, so hopefully we can get a saving grace from the devs themselves, but I will be talking about that in my next video. Back to our other saving grace though, other games. Genshin certainly is a fun game and keeps players coming back for their daily rewards and domains, but the biggest hope we players can get for the game is a massive competitor entering the scene. This really reminds me of how a lot of MMORPG players say that WoW is the biggest WoW killer before Final Fantasy completely took over, but it really just reminds me of how Genshin might be Genshin's killer. Whether directly or indirectly, mell-ø needs competition when it comes to their RPGs, or nothing will ever make it feel like it's being fixed. Moving backwards is certainly not a problem with Genshin, and they're certainly not going in that direction, but being progressive isn't their priority either. Random questions that no one asks are the only ones getting answered. The gacha systems entice terrible financial decisions on players by promoting unnecessary don't miss out incentives, and gameplay is moving towards being annoying and dragged out rather than challenging and interactive. These new mobs with the wolves and the specters, they're absolutely, in my opinion, terrible. The corrosion effect is certainly a good thing, but the way that these mobs interact is just absolutely terrible. They fly away from you, they just won't come at you, there's nothing really to do. They just kind of stand there and they're just annoying. They don't really provide any other challenging interactive experience for the player. They're just annoying. All of these are problems caused by a lack of competition for Genshin, because if they do not have to, why do anything that makes sense? If you ever feel burned out, just know it's completely fine. It's not a big deal and doesn't require you to make any apology to anyone. Just stop playing the game and do things that you enjoy. Skipping daily commissions won't ruin your life, I promise. Continue doing what you love and stay safe out there. Ciao.